Have you ever held your breath for 5 seconds? It doesn't seem like a long time. In fact, most people could easily do it without any difficulty. 5 seconds is barely enough time to blink a few times or read the sentence. But what if those 5 seconds weren't about holding your breath? What if, at this exact moment, every oxygen molecule on Earth simply disappeared? Not just the oxygen in the air, but the oxygen dissolved in the oceans, the oxygen locked inside concrete, rocks, and metal, the oxygen surrounding every city, every forest, every mountain, and every living creature, everything gone for just 5 seconds. At first, that might not sound terrifying. After all, humans can survive much longer than 5 seconds without breathing. So why would the entire planet be in danger? Because oxygen does far more than keep us alive. It silently holds together the world we know. The ground beneath your feet, the buildings around you, the blue sky above your head, even the air filling your lungs right now, everything depends on oxygen in ways most people never realize. The moment it disappears, Earth doesn't simply become difficult to breathe. It begins to fall apart. The countdown starts instantly. In the first second, nothing feels normal. By the second, thousands of aircraft begin facing a crisis no pilot has ever trained for. By the third second, cities around the world experience something completely unimaginable. By the fourth second, the oceans themselves begin to change. And when the fifth second arrives, human civilization may never recover. This isn't science fiction. It's a chain reaction based on real chemistry and physics. So, what would actually happen if Earth lost oxygen for just 5 seconds? The very first second begins, and at first, nothing seems different. People continue walking down busy streets, children keep playing in parks, drivers wait at traffic lights, and millions of conversations continue without interruption. Nobody realizes that the atmosphere surrounding them has just undergone the most impossible change in Earth's history. Then your body reacts. The next breath you instinctively take feels strangely empty. Your lungs expand exactly as they always have, but no oxygen enters your bloodstream. For 5 seconds, this alone isn't enough to kill you. Your body still has a small reserve of oxygen already circulating in your blood, but that isn't where the real disaster begins. The real danger is happening all around you. Jet engines flying nearly 40,000 feet above the Earth suddenly lose the oxygen they need for combustion. Modern aircraft carry fuel, but they don't carry oxygen. Without it, their engines instantly flame out. Across the world, thousands of commercial airliners, cargo planes, and private jets suddenly become silent gliders. Inside the cockpit, warning alarms erupt as pilots face a situation no simulator has ever prepared them for. Down on the ground, every gasoline and diesel engine also stops burning fuel. Cars already moving continue rolling forward because of momentum, but pressing the accelerator does absolutely nothing. Highways begin filling with silent vehicles drifting toward intersections. Emergency generators fail. Construction equipment freezes. Countless machines that civilization depends upon suddenly stop working. At exactly the same moment, something even stranger begins happening above your head. The sky slowly starts losing its familiar deep blue color. Normally, sunlight collides with billions of oxygen and nitrogen molecules, scattering blue light across the atmosphere. But without oxygen, that balance changes instantly. The world doesn't become dark, but the sky begins to look disturbingly unfamiliar, as if Earth itself has become a different planet. And this is only the first second. The worst is still coming. As the second begins, the disaster accelerates in ways almost no one could have predicted. The air may still surround you, but one of its most important ingredients is gone. Around the world, panic begins spreading as millions of people struggle to understand why every engine has suddenly gone silent, and why the sky itself looks strangely different. Far above the cities, pilots fight desperately to keep control of aircraft that have become enormous gliders. Some planes are high enough to remain stable for a while, but others are already descending toward emergency landings. Air traffic controllers receive hundreds of distress calls at the same time, creating complete chaos across global airspace. Meanwhile, another invisible catastrophe is unfolding beneath your feet. Concrete, one of the most widely used building materials on Earth, depends on oxygen as part of its chemical structure. Although 5 seconds isn't long enough for entire skyscrapers to collapse, microscopic damage begins forming throughout roads, bridges, tunnels, and buildings. The planet's infrastructure experiences stresses it was never designed to survive. The protective ozone layer, which is made entirely from oxygen, has also vanished. For these 5 seconds, the Earth is left completely exposed to the sun's harsh ultraviolet radiation. Exposure is brief, so it won't instantly burn the planet, but it demonstrates just how many invisible systems depend on oxygen every single moment. And while humanity struggles to understand what's happening above ground, the oceans are about to experience something far more terrifying than anyone could imagine. The third second is approaching, and that's when the planet itself begins fighting back. The third second arrives, and now the oceans become the center of the disaster. Most people think oxygen exists only in the air we breathe, but Earth's oceans also contain enormous amounts of dissolved oxygen that fish, coral reefs, and countless other marine organisms depend on every second of their lives. The instant that oxygen disappears, millions of sea creatures begin suffocating simultaneously. Across the planet, marine ecosystems are thrown into total chaos. But the oceans aren't the only places changing. Every human being is still alive. Yet almost everyone feels an overwhelming sense that something is terribly wrong. Your heart beats faster as your body desperately tries to deliver the last remaining oxygen already stored in your bloodstream. Breathing becomes instinctive, but every breath feels strangely useless. Panic spreads through cities as people realize they can no longer catch a satisfying breath. Then another hidden consequence begins to reveal itself. Countless industrial processes that rely on oxygen come to an immediate halt. Steel production, chemical manufacturing, power generation, and thousands of other systems suddenly stop functioning. Around the world, factories fall silent. Warning alarms echo through control rooms, and operators stare at instruments showing failures no engineer ever believed were possible. By now, the entire world understands that this is not a local disaster. Every country, every city, every ocean, and every continent is experiencing exactly the same impossible event at exactly the same moment. Humanity has never faced a crisis that ignores every border on Earth. And then the fourth second begins. What happens next will leave permanent scars on the planet, even if oxygen returns exactly as suddenly as it disappeared. The fourth second begins, and by now, the Earth feels almost unrecognizable. Across cities, traffic has come to a complete standstill. Airplanes continue gliding through the sky, each one racing against altitude and time. Hospitals switch to emergency procedures, but even backup systems struggle as oxygen-dependent equipment begins failing. Around the world, millions of people look toward the sky, searching for answers that simply don't exist. Nature is suffering just as much as humanity. Birds suddenly lose the oxygen they need to sustain flight and begin falling from the sky. In forests, animals instinctively flee, unable to understand why every breath feels empty. Beneath the oceans, marine life continues to collapse as entire food chains are pushed toward catastrophe within moments. Then another terrifying consequence unfolds. Oxygen is not only essential for life, it also forms part of countless chemical compounds that give materials their strength and stability. Across the planet, microscopic structural damage continues spreading through concrete, minerals, and other oxygen-rich compounds. Most buildings remain standing, but engineers would later discover that many structures had been permanently weakened during those few impossible seconds. Human communication also begins breaking down. Emergency services are overwhelmed with millions of calls. Governments lose contact with critical infrastructure. Airports, power stations, transportation networks, and military command centers all struggle to understand an event that has no explanation and no emergency protocol. And then, almost unbelievably, the fifth and final second arrives, the moment that will decide whether civilization survives or whether these 5 seconds become the most devastating event in Earth's history. The fifth second arrives, and just as suddenly as it disappeared, oxygen returns. Air rushes back into the atmosphere, engines roar back to life, and every person on Earth can finally take a real breath again. But the world that takes that breath is no longer the same world that existed 5 seconds earlier. Thousands of aircraft are now far below their intended flight paths, forcing emergency landings across the globe. Highways are filled with crashed and abandoned vehicles. Factories remain shut down as engineers struggle to understand why entire systems failed without warning. Hospitals continue treating countless injuries caused by accidents that happened during those few seconds of global confusion. The oceans will take far longer to recover. Millions of marine organisms have already died, disrupting ecosystems that took centuries to develop. Scientists race to measure the damage, while governments attempt to explain an event that no scientific model ever predicted. Financial markets collapse, global transportation remains paralyzed, and people everywhere begin asking the same terrifying question: could it happen again? Yet the most shocking realization comes after everything is over. For years, humanity believed oxygen was simply the gas that allowed us to breathe, but those 5 seconds reveal a far greater truth. Oxygen is one of the invisible foundations of civilization itself. It powers our technology, protects our planet, supports every ecosystem, and quietly holds together countless processes that make modern life possible. Remove it, even briefly, and the world begins unraveling almost immediately. Fortunately, this scenario is almost impossible in reality. There is no known natural process capable of making every oxygen molecule on Earth disappear at once. But imagining it reminds us of something we often forget. The most important things in our universe are usually the ones we never notice until they're gone. 5 seconds. That's all it took to show how fragile our world really is.